Hi Cyber Class, this is Professor Opterbek. I'm just touching base as we get ready to jump into week 8. Hard to believe we're already this far into the semester. Great discussion again last week on section 230. You can see this is a question that I'm really starting to get interested in, that I think is going to be really important over the next couple of years, few years, as the US continues to grapple with the question that many countries in the West are grappling with, which is how to deal with hate speech, terroristic content, the possibility of censorship online while at the same time trying to keep the internet free and open, and also while realizing that these big platforms really are private entities and are not themselves the government. And now as we move into this week that we're getting into, we're diving into some other stuff that I really am starting to find very, very interesting and challenging, which is the question of human rights, free speech, freedom of assembly, other human rights in cyberspace in countries outside of the West, and in particular in countries that we in the US or in Europe tend to view as really repressive regimes in many ways. So we're talking about countries like China, Iran, Saudi Arabia, North Korea. And you probably know from some of your general background in reading that there's a lot of surveillance and censorship in these countries, particularly of what people do online. So we're going to be looking at some really great reports and news stories, and I have some good videos for you to look at the kinds of things that happen in many of these countries and the kind of techniques that they use. And one of the questions we'll be asking throughout the week is the extent to which these differ from things that we are doing or thinking about doing here in the West, and the extent to which they are similar. And any country, as we've been struggling with this last week, has some interest in policing what happens online. So where does that interest in the general health and welfare, the genuine health and welfare of its citizens, kind of move into some other space when it really becomes something that we would call oppressive. The other really great thing about much of the material that we're reading this week is that the authors of some of these reports are going to be our guest speakers at our next summit, which happens in a couple of weeks. Now next week we will be starting to look at the compliance part of this course. So we're kind of taking our international focus and bringing it back to really private entities that you may be representing in practice and what they need to do to secure themselves and to comply. And they are, of course, as we have seen, a crucial part of this whole ecosystem. But this week we're broadening the focus as broad as it sort of gets for us into the international domain. And we really have a great jam-packed set of excellent guest speakers at the summit that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So enjoy the material this week, and I will see you on the discussion board online.